flood the country with untold millions of illegals by land, sea, and air from all over the world. Prioritize the needs of these millions of non-citizens over the needs of the American citizen, ensuring their loyalty to the political party that imported them. Codify permanent status and ensure non-cooperation with ICE. Count the non-citizens in the census that will determine congressional apportionment in the House of Representatives. As of now, that would equal 13 extra congressional districts, a tremendous amount of electoral power.
I wasn't planning on doing this, okay, Steven? I wasn't planning on doing this, but RICO is not a crime, okay? Tell that to Fulton County.
Yes, we should all have the confidence in our lives, and especially in our arguments, to be as certain about anything as AOC is that RICO is not a crime. In her mind, you have to appreciate, she thought that was her gotcha moment. She was like, oh man, I got him now. She just said RICO, and RICO is not a crime. RICO, it's a category. Like umbrella or it's a group of things.
I'm sure you were watching yesterday. I sort of understand. I understand sort of the tactic here, but I think a lot of Republicans want Joe Biden to be on the ballot in 2024, in November of 2024. Am I wrong?
Well, it's not up to Republicans. I mean, the bottom line is that the Joe Biden is going to be on the ballot unless the party forces him out, which seems unlikely. Or his wife pressures him out, which seems unlikely, or he bows out, which seems unlikely, unless there's an unforeseen medical issue, which is certainly plausible given his age and overall condition. But even if the House were to impeach him and it came to the Senate, they're not anywhere near the threshold for removal. And obviously, we would like Joe Biden to be impeached. A part of the problem there is that the House Republican majority now is so slim that it would require complete unanimity amongst House Republicans. And all of my sources tell me that there is not, unfortunately, that unanimity because, as you know, there's always a few Republicans who are willing to die on a sword of their own making to protect Democrats.
So when you look, though, throughout the country, it does seem as though there's a lot of reason for hope. What's happening in Georgia is an absolute cluster. I mean, it's a proper dumpster fire. And we do regular shows on it because it's too entertaining. But speaking of dying on a sword of your own making, I mean, who decided on this lady? Like, who made the choice? Like, oh, this is the one we're going to like pin all of our hopes and dreams on. Seems like a bold strategy, Cotton.
Yeah, well, part of the reason why I maybe don't share in others' optimism is because the left may not necessarily be the most talented or the most competent or the most brilliant, but they are the most ruthless. And oftentimes in history, ruthlessness wins, at least for a while. If that wasn't the case, then there would never be any bad guys in charge of anything anywhere. You know, I think a lot about, if anyone in your audience has ever read the book, it was originally called Wise Guys, and then it was renamed Goodfellas, which became the movie Goodfellas. One of the things that it talks about in the book about the mafia is that it says the mafia, they weren't the brightest guys or the smartest guys, the most talented guys or charming guys. What they had in common was their unrestrained brutality. And that's what made them so effective in being able to run this criminal syndicate, is that unlike most people, they were willing to do basically anything to settle any argument or any dispute anywhere all the time. And that, of course, created an environment of fear in others. The left operates on the same principle. They'll destroy you. They'll bankrupt you. They'll take your house. They'll take your money. They'll take your freedom. And so when you look at somebody in Georgia like a Miss Willis, yes, it's extremely mockable. But as of now, no one is stopping her. Let's be very clear. The Republican Party of Georgia has done nothing to stop her. The statewide elected leadership in Georgia has done nothing to stop her. The legal system in Georgia has done nothing to stop her. As of now, it is a true fact that multiple people are going to stand trial in front of a highly partisan jury with a highly partisan prosecutor, and they will be in a fight for their lives and survival. And no one has interceded so far. This has happened in the broad view of the whole country, and no one has interceded to stop this injustice.
So that's a great point that you just made, because how do you defeat that type of ruthlessness and that type of brutality? How do you defeat the people that are willing to seize Donald Trump's skyscrapers in New York? In spite of what that's going to do to the culture of investment in New York, why would anybody ever buy another skyscraper? Anyone. I don't, if you're a far left Marxist, it doesn't matter. Like, why would you ever invest in New York ever again? They're destroying themselves like all Marxists always do. And I suppose my question to you, Stephen, is when are Republicans going to realize that we have Republican district attorneys in Little Rock, Arkansas that are overseeing the Clinton Global Initiative? Maybe we should start investigating what's been going on there. There's probably some big questions about Haiti that I'd like answered. Maybe some questions about who paid for the Epstein flights. Like, when are Republicans going to fight fire with fire on these issues?
That's the key question. That's the point I always return to. So on what you said about why would anybody invest in New York, the thing to understand about Marxism in all of its iterations, including the American style Marxism, is that they will eventually, left to their own devices, and I'm borrowing someone else's expression here, but they will burn down the civilization to be king of the ashes. And that's where inevitably where it will lead. Any Marxist movement left to its own devices will persecute anyone and everyone, turn on itself, eat its own, destroy everything, because that's all it knows how to do, is demolish. It cannot build. There's nothing left but rubble, and then they will fight over who gets to rule over the rubble. And that's just what it is. And so once you understand that, you realize that you're not dealing with a good faith debate between sincere groups of people, but you're dealing with an ideology that is like a fire engulfing what is good and what is noble. Then the only solution to that is to muster as much strength in defense of the good as the radical left is ushering in to advance the sinister and the wicked and the unjust and the perverted and the deadly and dangerous. And so until you are, to your point, until you have Republican or conservative prosecutors that are willing to use their powers to the full extent, and the same across all of state government. I mean, for example, conservatives and Republicans, I should say, Republicans specifically, because they're not always conservative, Republicans control state legislatures all around this country. Very few of those state legislatures are doing anything of consequence or value. Only a handful of red states in this country are doing anything. I mean, for example, we've seen as an example of a Texas legislature doing something great. They passed this incredible law. Why isn't SB 4? Unfortunately, it's caught up in the courts. But why isn't every single red state criminalizing illegal immigration? Why is there one red state in this country that hasn't done it? Rather than all of them haven't done it, except for Texas. We're making it a crime to be in that state illegally, to do business in that state illegally, to work illegally, so that when you catch an illegal alien, you have a half dozen different criminal charges you can file against them. The right needs to either get serious about using government power to save this country, or there won't be a country to save. The fatal flaw of conservatism, which is embedded into it, is that because conservatism is suspicious, justly suspicious of government, that when conservatives gain power, they put all their energy figuring out how to do nothing. That is suicide. You have to, at some level, be willing to put your allies, put your friends, put your ideological brethren into government and expect them and hope that they will and demand that they use that power to turn the country back towards goodness and virtue. Because if your whole theory is we're going to put conservatives in government and then they'll all just do nothing and leave everybody alone, you will be conquered.
So you were obviously the author of some of the greatest Trump policies, specifically on the border and immigration. You've regularly posted on X about the plans for mass deportations. Donald Trump's talked about it during his speeches. How does that go? If SB 4 can't be operable in Texas and get stopped, even when the Supreme Court says it can go forward, a court is just ready to stop it again. How does Donald Trump move forward with ensuring that the people who are in this country are actual citizens and are not criminals?
Well, the good news is that President Trump, on the day that he takes the oath of office, will have all of the power and authority that he needs to seal the border and stop the invasion. Congress has passed a great many immigration laws and other laws relating to national security over a period of many years, going all the way back to the John Adams presidency, that can be used to both seal the border and then expel all of the illegal aliens that Joe Biden has let in, which is, of course, an absolute must. It is a national security, a national sovereignty imperative. By the way, if you don't expel them, then Biden wins, right? If Biden gets to bring them all in, and then all you do is stop new ones from coming in and leave all the ones he brought in here, who, of course, then will have U.S. citizen children, collect unlimited welfare, and become a extremely loyal voting bloc to the Democrat Party, be counted in all the censuses and everything else. You don't do that, Biden wins, Democrats win, lawlessness is rewarded and enshrined, and then will, of course, be repeated in the future. But those authorities are already in existence. And yes, you will have to fight and battle in the courts, and you have to fight and battle against left-wing state governments, but it will be done because you will be able to marshal the full power of the Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security, the agencies therein, the FBI, the DEA, the ATF, ICE, USCIS, Border Patrol, Customs, as well as the Department of Defense and all of its considerable assets, and the state National Guards, the National Guards of Florida, of Texas, Idaho, on through the whole country, Mississippi, Missouri. And you will be able to build a giant force of federal, state, and local assets to effectively end the border invasion without delay, and then repel newcomers and expel those already here.
Do you agree? Elon Musk made huge news this week, posting a video about effectively the scheme to create a new political class for the Democrat Party through illegal immigration and to allow these criminal aliens to vote then in the 2024 election. That's part of the plan. You agree with that? That's baked in.
There's broadly construed. There are three immediate objectives Democrats have with respect to open borders. And those are, one, this already happens. They're counted in the census, which means more congressional seats for states with illegal aliens and electoral college votes. California would have half of the electoral college votes it has right now, but for illegal immigration. Think about that.
Wow.
The electoral map, where this automatic giant behemoth of electoral college votes is delivered to the left immediately, is because of illegal immigration. Two, there is no citizenship verification to vote in American elections. Very few people realize this. If you ask for it, you get a form and it says, are you a citizen, yes or no? If you check the yes box, that is it. Every state that has tried to validate that, and the federal government does zero validation, has been blocked successfully in court, now going on for more than 20 years. This is a true statement without exaggeration. There's not a single state in this country where illegal aliens cannot vote simply by checking a box. And as you can imagine, the potential for massive fraud there is increased exponentially with mass mail-in voting. So if even a small percentage of Biden's illegal aliens fill out mail-in ballots, fill out ballots that go into drop boxes, etc., that would be outcome determinative in races up and down the ballot. Now, all it would take to stop this would be for the House to attach to a must-pass bill legislation requiring citizenship verification to vote in 2024. And the third thing is that as soon as they have the power and ability to do so, they would pass a law making all illegal aliens into full voting citizens. Had it not been for the fact that Joe Manchin is indeed he's a hardcore liberal. He's voted against us on almost everything of importance. But he did one thing that was noteworthy, which is that he refused to eliminate the filibuster. If he had voted to end the filibuster, they would have, in the first month of Biden's presidency, passed a full Citizenship and Voting Rights Act for all illegal aliens in the country. And they had the votes to do it, but for the fact that Manchin didn't agree to waive the filibuster. Manchin, by the way, he supports amnesty. He would have voted for the bill. He just didn't vote to get rid of the filibuster. So those three things are the primary reasons why Democrats want an open border. There are many others. We don't have time to go into them all, but those are the three big ones.
You have obviously Donald Trump's ear. And the final question I have for you, Stephen, is can you outline a sort of a day one strategy? Because people are, I know it's overused, but a lot of people are like, it's the most important election of your lifetime. I think people feel it really this time. 4 years of Biden has shown us that we are on, as you just described, a razor's edge, a dental thread away from having the nation lost forever. What does the Donald Trump administration do? And we have been covering the new that Ted Cruz as Attorney General, right? Some of the reporting that's been rolling out about who he would pick in his cabinet positions. That's crucially important. As somebody who served there with Trump, can you give us sort of a fast forward?
Well, I don't want to make any news today beyond what's already been announced, but what I can say that that comes from a personal experience and knowledge is that President Trump, on day one of a new administration, will launch the most effective, complete, and total reclamation of government for the American people that you can possibly imagine. Every rogue agency, every rogue department, every rogue sub-agency and component of government that has been brought into service of the radical left, that has been weaponized against the people, that has been weaponized against our liberties, our freedoms, our Constitution, will be reclaimed and redirected in defense of and in service of the American people against the forces that are trying to demolish Western civilization. And it will happen as surely as the sun rises in the morning if enough people get out and vote, not just in November, but in the weeks-long process leading up to November. And you can take that to the bank.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Miller, the number of plaudits and the amount of respect that we have for Stephen Miller on this program, it's unquantifiable. The guy, quite literally, every Trump policy that you liked in term one, you can thank Stephen for that.
Well, let's just say I was a helping hand. I was a helping hand, and I was proud to serve.
And you were giving Xi Jinping a hand right here in your X cover image. Look at that. Does he have a firm handshake, Stephen?
He actually, but I just think it's because handshakes are sort of an American thing, aren't they? He had, I would say, a medium grip.
Medium grip. Okay. No bowing, handshakes in the Trump administration, right? Yes, that's right. Yes. No bowing. So we have Stephen Miller. America First Legal is obviously it's Stephen's organization, and it is the best. Every time you hear a good news cycle about what's happening legally in this country, it's because of Stephen Miller and his incredible organization. Please support them and follow Stephen. Look at that. On his way to 1 million, baby. On his way to 1 million. Let's go. 600,000 people can't be wrong. Stephen, thank you so much.
Thank you.